good, Chris?
Yep.
Very good. My name's Jason Clark. It's Jason, J-A-S-O-N, Clark, C-L-A-R-K. I'm the Chief of Staff for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Thank you for being here this afternoon. Just a quick update of what's going on. A massive search continues for Gonzalo Lopez. Gonzalo has been on the run now for about 48 hours. We have law enforcement from the state, federal, local, and county level that are all here actively searching for Lopez. What's going on right now is we have dog teams that have been deployed. These are both scent specific as well as pack dogs that are out searching for Lopez, essentially doing a grid over about a 4-mile perimeter that begins right where the bus crash happened. We have had a few calls of homeowners where they have possibly seen Lopez. The only visual sighting that we had of him was on Thursday afternoon, just a few hours after the bus crash. He was spotted underneath a tree. And since that time, he has not been. But I can tell you that our information continues to be, and we continue to believe that he is in this area, and we don't have any information that takes him out of this area at this time. The reward for Lopez's capture right now is $22,500. We would encourage anybody that has information about his whereabouts, may know something, may have seen something, we would encourage you to reach out to local law enforcement and please share that information. Lopez is an individual that is dangerous. He has a disregard for human life. That's obvious from his convictions, and it's obvious from his escape. But I can tell you that TDCJ will not rest until Lopez has been captured. So this search will continue until he's back in custody.
Now, I know on the bus there was 15 other inmates on that bus. Could he possibly be looking at a kidnapping charge as well if caught, since he did take the bus and there were still inmates on there at the time?
Certainly we'll look at all charges. He's doing a life sentence at the moment, but potentially looking at aggravated assault on a public servant and as well as an escape charge. And that escape charge would be stacked on top of his life sentence.
Do you know, does he have any connection to the cartel or Mexican gang?
Yes, Lopez does have a long history in dealing with gangs, both on this side of the border, on the other side. Lopez was convicted of kidnapping and murdering an individual, torturing that person and then beating them to death with a pickaxe because they didn't pay a ransom. So we know that he's dangerous, he's proven that, and so we're not going to be taking any chances.
Is it possible the cartel or a Mexican gang could be coordinating to try to get him, bring him over the border?
You know, at this time we don't believe that there's any information that pulls him out of this area. Certainly we do believe that he planned the escape. That's something that we do believe over time. He worked to have a weapon, a homemade weapon, as well as figure out some way to get out of his hand restraints. But at this time, we don't believe necessarily that he's left this area. So if he has any help, it's not helping him at the moment.
Yesterday we were told he had shackles on and also handcuffs. Are you sure he had shackles on?
I could tell you that he had restraints, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but obviously he was able to remove those restraints, and so that's going to be part of the investigation to determine how exactly did he do that.
Have you all identified the type of weapon that he could have possibly gotten out of the bus to even cut in an opening into the door to get to the driver?
Sure. So he was able to open, at the bottom of where he was at is a mesh cage, if you will, and he was able to use something, we don't know exactly what that is, in order to make a square area in order to get out. We don't know exactly what that was. We do believe it was probably a homemade weapon that he used, and probably the same weapon that he used to assault the driver.
Where was the officers on the bus? How are they doing? And especially the officer that was stabbed.
Sure. So it was not a life-threatening wound, and so they're doing okay. I can tell you they were shook up, obviously. Certainly, those officers acted very swiftly. The driver was able to pull that bus over and physically go hand to hand with Lopez. Enough time for the back officer to get out, get his weapon, and engage Lopez. So both officers acted very swiftly, but they are recovering and certainly appreciate their efforts in doing their jobs.
Now, have they returned back to duty to help with the efforts to stop Lopez?
No, they have not.
So where was he initially located on the bus?
He was located towards the front of the bus. And so on a prison bus, you've got the driver, and then there is a screened in area where you're going to have higher custody inmates. That's where Lopez was at. There's another screened in area. That's where lower custody inmates are at. And then back behind that is a screened in area, and that's where the back transportation officer is at. And so Lopez was with the higher custody inmates. He was shackled, and then the driver is armed, and the back transport officer is armed.
So how did the back officer not observe him moving forward to make his attempt?
He did. The hole in which he came out of was very low, and so it's very likely that the back officer would not have been able to see that. But whenever he did come out of that area, the back officer did notice that he was coming for the transportation officer.
Are residents being able to access highway? I've seen more cars kind of be able to go past yesterday.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if DPS is letting people that live back there specifically go back there. I can tell you what it looks like right now is every about 150 feet, we've got a correctional officer that's stationed. And so that perimeter, again, is pretty significant and goes all the way around. And that has been pretty tight throughout the last 48 hours. And so what's going to continue to happen is that perimeter, unless it needs to change, we're going to just continue to choke it down until eventually we find Lopez in there.
I spoke to one resident in a Zoom interview a little bit before this interview here.
Sure.
And she is in between one of the perimeters right now. So she said during the day she feels very safe, but at night she doesn't feel so secure. Are officers still maintaining their presence here 24 hours?
Absolutely. Certainly at nighttime, we're going to be just as much during the daytime because we know that potentially is when he may move. And so this command is going to continue until we have reason to stop it.
Do you believe the chances of finding him went down since it's now been 48 hours?
I don't think so. I don't like to put chances on anything, but I'll just tell you that we're going to continue to work very hard until Lopez is back in custody.
Any more caution to residents here as they continue to go back to work on Monday and kind of move forward?
You know, certainly we would tell residents to be cognizant of their surroundings. When they leave their home, make sure that those are locked up. Any firearms that they have, obviously you'd want to lock those up as well. But again, I think it's just being aware of your surroundings as you move forward.
Are you guys getting any kind of information out of the other inmates or anything like that?
Won't get into those specific, but absolutely those inmates have been interviewed and have shared some information.
A portion of our interview is being taped on Facebook Live right now. I do have one community member saying they need to check, is it Marquez, I'm sorry?
Marquez?
Marquez, there we go. Marquez at storage buildings, are you guys checking all the perimeters, every type of avenue you guys can possibly check?
Yes, sir. So we know where all the structures are at within that perimeter and are working diligently to check those structures. I would like to give a special thank you certainly to the Leon County Sheriff's Department, as well as the many local police departments that are here, as well as the Texas DPS and the U.S. Marshals who are actively involved in this search. They've been fantastic and continue to provide all the resources and efforts to find Lopez.
Have you guys determined whether you said he's been planning this for a while? Did you guys determine if he had any internal help or anything?
That's still part of the investigation. It does appear that he had some forethought and planning. What's not clear is whether he had any specific help from other inmates.
Or any staff, maybe?
There's no indication at that point, but that certainly is part of the investigation.
Have you all checked abandoned homes or possibly farmhouses? I know some people were saying that there's a lot of empty houses in the area that he could possibly be hiding out in.
Yes. So that's something obviously that we're doing very strategically, is going through and checking those structures. But there's a lot of structures that are in that perimeter, from old abandoned barns to deer blinds to houses. And so you have to be very methodical as you go through there. And I can just tell you, as I've been through there, it's very thick woods. And so we know from Lopez's history, in his previous attempts to get away from law enforcement, that he'll stay put and lay low with the hopes that law enforcement will move to a different area. But I can just tell you, we're not going to move. Lopez is going to get back in custody.
One resident told me that there's been like some sightings on some game cameras that some residents may have. So you all also checking to see if residents have those and getting that footage as well?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.